We wanted to have him on again this week to discuss the shocking news from NASCAR.
Yesterday, driving legend Kyle Busch passed away suddenly. And Dr. Stanton, you've been closely tied to the sport of NASCAR for many years. Can you give us a sense of who Kyle Busch was and what this means to the sport as well as its fans?
Yeah, the biggest thing for him is he's, one of the most successful, winningest driver in NASCAR history, winning at all three levels of NASCAR, and two-time champion. In fact, when I was looking through my stuff last night for this, I actually found this, which was the program to his 2019 championship, his second championship that we celebrated in Nashville. And, the most important thing about him is not only was he one of the most intense drivers. In fact, I've talked to him in the past about how he's almost like a Michael Jordan. Once he got inside the track, he was one of the most competitive people that was there. And the intensity was second to none when he was inside the track. But what people really didn't see is that how wonderful of a father was, how wonderful of a husband he was. Many times when I was at the track, I would see him kind of in an area that's really not seen by others, kind of in the driver owner lot. And he'd be back there with a fan, a young Kyle Busch fan, just kind of playing cars with them and hanging out. I mean, he was a great family person. And so the two sides that people saw between the track and between outside the track were very different. So, shocking just as much for me when I was sitting at the dinner table last night when the news came across as it was for the entire world. 41 years old, one of the most successful drivers in NASCAR history.
Doc, you've had a chance to be around him a lot. We saw that photo of you with him, and you have an interesting story, a nickname your daughters gave Kyle Busch. I think it's something our viewers will appreciate.
Yeah, so when his brother was driving Kurt Busch, they would put them as KY and KU Busch on the screen. And so my daughters, when they were very young, called him Kentucky Busch. And so actually my youngest daughter, when she did a project for school, one of those CO2 driven cars, she actually created the Kyle Busch M&M's car to celebrate that. So she actually did a pretty fantastic job with making that car and putting it together. And, so that's how our connection here locally was always Kentucky Busch. He was from Las Vegas. There are family ties here to Kentucky through Kurt. But this is, it's one of those things that's a huge loss. And honestly, one of the biggest personalities in the sport. If you knew NASCAR, you knew Kyle Busch just because of his personality that he had as the antagonist for the sport.
All right, Doc, thanks for sharing that story as well as your insight into the legacy of Kyle Busch. And we'll be back with you in about half an hour or so to continue this.